Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive into learning English.
Yeah, right.
One of the best ways to learn a new language is by just jumping right into real life situations.
Yeah.
And today, we're going to be tackling a classic,
A classic.
talking about the weather.
Yes.
And to help us break it down, I am joined by our amazing expert speaker.
Hello.
So,
Hi, everyone.
now just imagine you're waiting for the bus on a gray, cloudy day, and then suddenly the rain starts pouring down.
Oh.
What do you say?
Hmm.
Well, today's dialogue shows us exactly how to handle this situation.
Okay.
It's called Talking About the Weather.
Okay.
And we'll be hearing from Alex and Ella, who find themselves caught in a surprise shower.
Sounds relatable.
All right, so I'm going to be Ella, and you can be Alex.
Okay, sounds good.
Ready? This rain came out of nowhere, didn't it?
Yeah, I didn't even bring an umbrella. Did you check the forecast this morning?
I did, but it only said cloudy. No mention of rain at all.
Typical. The weather here is so unpredictable sometimes.
It really is. But at least it's not too cold today.
True. It's kind of refreshing, actually. I love the smell of rain.
Me too. Let's hope the bus doesn't take forever to arrive, though. So there you have it. A quick and easy conversation about something we all experience.
Exactly. And even though it's short, it's packed with useful vocabulary and expressions that can help you in all sorts of situations.
Absolutely. Now, before we dive into the details, let's take a moment to review some of the key words and phrases from the dialogue.
Sounds good.
First up, we have the word forecast.
Okay.
Alex asked Ella, "Did you check the forecast this morning?"
Mm-hmm.
A forecast is simply a prediction of what the weather will be like.
Right. And as we heard in the dialogue, sometimes those forecasts aren't always accurate.
Which brings us to another important word, unpredictable.
Yes.
Remember, Alex said the weather here is so unpredictable sometimes.
Yeah.
Unpredictable means something that's difficult to guess or anticipate, like the weather in this situation.
And to add to that, think about other things in life that can be unpredictable. Maybe traffic, maybe the results of a game, anything where you can't be sure what will happen.
Great point. So we have forecast, we have unpredictable. Oh, and how could we forget refreshing?
Yes.
Alex found the rain refreshing. So refreshing describes something that makes you feel good, renewed, or energized.
Exactly. Like a cool drink on a hot day or a walk in nature.
I love those examples. Now let's move on to some of the common expressions used in the dialogue. Remember how Ella said, "This rain came out of nowhere, didn't it?"
Yes,
That's such a natural way to express surprise in English.
it is. And it's a phrase you'll hear a lot in everyday conversation.
Absolutely. And you can use it for all sorts of unexpected situations. For example, if a friend suddenly shows up at your door, you could say, "Wow, you came out of nowhere."
Or if you hear some surprising news, you might say, that came out of nowhere. It's a very versatile expression.
Okay, so we've talked about out of nowhere. Now let's focus on how Ellie uses a question tag at the end of that sentence. She says, "This rain came out of nowhere, didn't it?"
Right.
Now that little "didn't it" is a question tag.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great way to check if someone agrees with you or to invite them to join the conversation.
Yeah.
It's a very common feature of spoken English.
It is.
Exactly. It softens the statement and makes it more conversational.
Now let's look at Alex's response. He simply says, yeah. That's a very natural way to show agreement, especially in casual conversations.
But you could also use other phrases like "I know right" or "tell me about it" to add a bit more emphasis to your agreement.
And one more thing I want to highlight about this opening exchange is how it starts the conversation.
Okay.
Notice how Ella doesn't just say, it's raining.
Yeah.
She makes an observation about how sudden the rain was.
That's such a great point. It's a way to make the conversation more engaging.
Exactly. It invites the other person to share their reaction and keep the conversation going.
So remember, when you're starting a conversation, try to make an observation or ask a question that will spark the other person's interest.
And that brings us to the next part of the dialogue, where Ella says, I did, but it only said cloudy. No mention of rain at all.
Yeah.
This is a great example of how to express disagreement or contradiction in a polite way.
Right.
She starts by acknowledging Alex's point.
Uh-huh.
I did, meaning she did check the forecast.
Right.
But then she uses but to introduce a contrasting idea.
Yeah.
The forecast was wrong. And she emphasizes her point by saying no mention of rain at all.
British.
This adds a bit of humor and also shows how strongly she feels about the situation.
Yeah, I love how she manages to be both lighthearted and clear about her disagreement.
It's a really useful skill to have in English conversations.
It is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now remember, there are many other ways to express disagreement in English.
Okay.
You could say, actually,
Yeah.
or on the contrary, or even a simple no, depending on the context and how strong you want to be.
Those are great alternatives. And listeners, don't be afraid to experiment with different phrases to find what feels most natural for you.
Exactly. The key is to be clear and respectful while also expressing your own perspective.
Okay, now I want to shift gears a bit and talk about something Alex said that really stood out to me.
Okay.
He mentions how much he loves the smell of rain.
Ah, yes. That's such a simple statement, but it opens up a whole world of possibilities for describing sensory experiences in English.
It does. What I find interesting is how Alex uses the verb love to express a strong positive feeling.
Right.
It's much more impactful than just saying, I like the smell of rain.
That's a great observation. It adds a personal touch and shows that he's genuinely enjoying the moment.
And for English learners, this is a reminder that you can use strong verbs like love, hate, adore, or despise to really emphasize your feelings and make your language more colorful.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to express yourself vividly. Now let's move on to the final line of the dialogue where Ella says, "Let's hope the bus doesn't take forever to arrive, though."
Okay, let's unpack this sentence. It's packed with useful expressions related to waiting and transportation, which are essential for navigating everyday life in English-speaking environments.
Right. First, we have "let's hope," which is a way to express a wish or desire for something to happen.
Right.
It's a very common way to start a sentence when you're hoping for a positive outcome.
And then she uses the idiom, take forever.
Yes.
That's a fantastic example of how idioms can make your English sound more natural and fluent.
It is take forever means to take a very long time, but it's a much more expressive way of saying it than just using the words long time.
Right. And she ends the sentence with the word though.
Yeah.
That little word adds a touch of humor and also softens the statement, making it sound less demanding.
Exactly. It's like she's saying, I'm impatient, but I'm trying to be polite about it.
It's a subtle but important detail that can make your English sound more nuanced and sophisticated.
Now, before we move on, I want to remind our listeners that if you're enjoying this deep dive and finding it helpful, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel.
Yes.
Your support helps us create more content like this. And the more you engage, the more we can tailor future episodes to your needs.
We love connecting with you and hearing your feedback. Okay, so we've covered the key vocabulary expressions and grammar points in this dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's zoom out and consider some of the broader communication lessons we can learn from this seemingly simple conversation about the weather.
What's fascinating to me is how this dialogue demonstrates the power of small talk in English. Talking about the weather might seem trivial,
Yeah.
but it's actually a very important social skill.
I completely agree. It's a way to break the ice, connect with people, and start building relationships.
Exactly. In many English-speaking cultures, people tend to talk about the weather a lot, especially if it's unpredictable.
So it's not just about stating a fact. It's about expressing a shared experience.
Exactly. It's a way of bonding over the ups and downs of nature and finding common ground.
And it can also be a way to start a conversation without getting too personal too quickly.
Right. It's a safe and neutral topic that can help you break the ice and get to know someone better.
So for English learners, paying attention to these subtle cultural nuances can be really helpful in navigating social situations.
Absolutely. It's all part of becoming a more confident and fluent communicator.
And you know what else I noticed?
What's that?
How Alex said, the weather here is so unpredictable sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
That's a great example of how like a simple statement about the weather can actually reveal something deeper about cultural perspectives.
That's right.
I'd love to hear more about that.
Well, in many English-speaking cultures, people tend to talk about the weather a lot, especially if it's like unpredictable, like we're saying.
Right.
So it's not just about stating a fact.
Yeah.
It's more about expressing a shared experience.
Totally. So it's a way of bonding over the ups and downs of nature and finding some common ground with someone you may not know very well.
That's right.
Yeah. And it can also be a way to start a conversation without getting too personal too quickly.
That's a good point.
Right.
It's a safe topic. It's a neutral topic.
Yeah.
And it can help you kind of break the ice and get to know someone better.
So for English learners, paying attention to these subtle cultural nuances can be really helpful in navigating social situations.
Absolutely. It's all part of becoming a more confident and fluent communicator.
Okay, now before we wrap up, I want to touch on one more important point from this dialogue.
Okay.
Remember how Ella said, "Let's hope the bus doesn't take forever to arise, though."
Yes.
This sentence highlights the importance of using polite language,
Mm-hmm.
even in casual conversations.
All right.
The word, though, at the end, softens the statement and makes it sound less demanding.
Yeah, it makes it a little less forceful.
It does.
Yeah.
It's a small detail, but
Yeah.
it makes a big difference in how your message is received.
It does. And it's a good reminder that even when we're expressing frustration or impatience, it's important to do so in a way that's respectful and considerate.
Absolutely. Politeness goes a long way in any language.
It does. So as we come to the end of this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Don't be afraid to practice your English in real-life situations, even if it's just a simple conversation about the weather.
Right. Every interaction is an opportunity to learn and improve.
Exactly. And remember, making mistakes is all part of the process.
Of course.
So embrace the challenge
Yes,
and celebrate your progress along the way.
absolutely.
And most importantly,
Yeah.
have fun with it.
So well said. It's been a pleasure exploring this dialogue with you today.
Likewise, I always enjoy our deep dives.
And to our amazing listeners, thank you for joining us. We hope you found this episode insightful and helpful.
And remember, keep practicing, stay curious, and never stop exploring the wonderful world of English.
Until next time, happy learning.
Thanks for joining the conversation here at Kaz English. We hope you found it fun and informative. Don't forget to check out kazapp.uk. That's kazapp.uk for more tips, resources, and interactive practice. Keep exploring, keep chatting, and we'll catch up with you again soon.